India for a period of 182 days. Person said to be resident of India in any previous year. He had been in India for a period of following number of days, 180 days. Resident of India in any previous years. He had been in India. Income defined under which of the following provision of the Income Tax 1961? We define section 224. Income is defined under which of the following provision? Which of the following is not a fraud as per the Indian Contract Act? Which of the following is not a fraud as per the Indian Contract Act? 1870. No, mere silence if not duty bound to speak. Mere silence if not a duty bound to speak. Mere silence if not duty bound to speak. Actually, as per the Income Tax Act 1961, person is said to be resident of India. Actually, as per the Income Tax Act 1961, 182 days, person is said to be resident of India in any previous year. Which of the following not a fraud as per the Indian Contract Act? Mere silence if not duty bound to speak. Not a fraud. Promise made without intention. Mere in active concealment of fact. On having knowledge of the fact. Any act of omission of law shall declares to be fraudulent. Mere silence if not duty bound to speak. The mere silence has to facts like to affect the willingness of persons to enter into a contract if not fraud, unless the circumstances of this case regard being heard to them. It is duty of the person keeping silence to speak, or unless his silence is in itself. Which of the following statement is correct? If A, intending to deceive B, A intending deceive B को deceive, harass, falsely represented 500 mounds of indigo are made annually if A is factories. Induce B to buy the factories. Contract is avoidable are the option of B. Following statement A, intending to deceive B. So contract is avoidable are the option of B. Falsely represented 500 mounds of indigo are made annually. That's A factory. Induced to B to buy the factories. It is void because fraudulently. Which are the following injunctions? Actually, injunction can be granted only by the decree made at the hearing and upon the merit of the suit. Hearing and upon the merit. Perpetual injunction. Stipulation in bond for payment of compound interest, as was payable upon the principal. Section 74. A stipulation in a bond for payment of compound interest on failure to pay simple interest at the same rate as was payable upon the principal. Not a penalty within the meaning of which of the following provision? Indian Contract Act. Section 74. Pay simple interest at the same rate. Payable upon the principal is not a penalty. But the default interest payable under Section 63 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. 9% per annum. Default interest payable under Section 63A of the Transfer of the Property Act 9% per annum. For the default interest payable under Section 63 9% per annum. Transfer of Property Act Which of the following is the time limit under section 17 of the Transfer Property Act 1882? A period of 18 years from the date of transfers. Under section 17 of the Transfer Property Act 1882, the period is of 18 years. 18 साल. The default interest payable under section 63 of Transfer Property Act 9% per annum. 74. Bond payment of compound interest on the failure. Simple interest at the same rate. Principal is not penalty. Meaning of which of the following provision of the Indian Contract Act? 74. Which of the following not a negotiable instrument as per the Negotiable Instrument Act? 1881. Promise hundi. Promissory note a bill of exchange check. Right of Negotiable Instrument Act 1951. Negotiable Instrument Act. At what rate interest will be charged if the rate of interest is not mentioned on the negotiable instrument? 8% per annum. Not mentioned 80% per annum. Negotiable Instrument Act. Within the period from the date of publication of the declaration, if no award is made for the acquisition of land shall lapse as per right for fair compensation and transparency in land acquisitions, rehabilitation and resettlement act. 12 months. Declarations. If no award is made, the entire proceeding for the acquisition of land shall lapse 12 months. According to section 25, the right to fair compensation. The collector is required to make an award within 12 months from the date of publication of the declaration under section 19. The entire proceedings for the acquisition of the land shall lapse. What is the minimum percentage of affected families that need to give their prior consent for the acquiring land for private companies as per the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition? Transparency in land acquisition and rehabilitation and resettlement act 2013. 80%. Minimum percentage of affected families that need to give their prior consent for acquiring land. 80%. Minimum percentage of affected families 80% that need to give their prior consent for acquiring land. Acquiring land for private companies. What is the minimum percentage of the affected families? For private companies, 80%. Minimum percentage of the affected families that need to give their prior consent. Transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement act 80%. Affected families that need to give their prior consent occur for acquiring land 80%. Right to fair compensation 80%. Imagine an IPL team set up company to sell its own range of clothes. What type of intellectual property can the team use to show that the clothes are made by them? Trademarks. Imagine the IPL team set up company to sell its own range of clothes. Own range of clothes. Own range of clothes. Actually,